evening, everybody. Good evening. We're going to start the agenda review session for Wednesday, August 17th, 2016, in Brunswick City Council. Ordinances on second reading. 601, ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinance of the City of Brunswick, Title 5, Business Licenses and Regulations, Chapter 5.100, Taxi Cabs. 602, amend the management salary ordinance, 2015 to 2017. Ordinance for discussion on first reading. We don't have any at the moment. Resolutions. 637, approve agenda amendment. 638, approve payroll. 639, authorize refund for redeemed tax sales certificate. 640, approve amendment resolution R 071643. Change the date of the Wednesday, September 7, 2016 City Council meeting to Tuesday, September 6, 2016 City Council meeting schedule. 641, approve amendment of resolution R 01154. Review of federal and state grants per Office of Management and Budget 15-08 in the amount of $32,075 with Samuel Klein and Company for 2015 municipal order, not to exceed $32,075. 642, approve Chapter 159 budget insertion, New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, Office of the Attorney General, Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, for FY15 EMPG City of New Brunswick EMAA, grant amount $7,000, cash match $7,874, total $14,874. 643, approve amendment of resolution R 071671, reading an additional amount of $322.26 for long sleeve t-shirts for Public Works employees with All Colors LLC, furnished and delivered t-shirts. Rebid specification number 510-16PR, not to exceed $322.26. Approval of this change order will not constitute an increase of 20% or more of the amount of the original contract. 644, approve authorization to rebid requested by Department of Planning, Community and Economic Development for emergency housing shelter. Rebid specification number 524-16 RFP. 645, approve award of grant for rehabilitation home improvements. One grant for Valerio and Argentina Burnell, 55 Simplex Avenue, not to exceed $24,985. 646, approve amendment resolution R 061664, reason to pay additional legal fees in the amount of $1,105 to Benedict and Albany for Police Director Anthony Caputo in the matter of Victor Rodriguez versus City of New Brunswick from $24,378 to $25,483. 647, approve award of contract with K. Hanranahan Enterprise Incorporated for electrical services for the water utility water treatment plant, not to exceed $9,404.19 in Middlesex County Cooperative Purchasing Program. CK12 Middlesex from K. Hanranahan Enterprise Incorporated. 648, approve Chapter 159 budget insertion, State of New Jersey Department of Transportation for George Kilmer Avenue roadway improvements. The amount is $343,987. 649, approve request for use of city property requested by Woodrow Wilson Elementary School, New Brunswick Board of Education. The location is Murphy Park. Team building activities, exercises for middle school students. The date is Friday, September 9, 2016. The rain date is Friday, September 16, 2016. Time is 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. 650, approve request for use of city property requested by Stevens Germain. Location is Bugalo Park Pavilion for 21st birthday celebration. The date is Friday, August 26, 2016. The time is 1 p.m. from 7 p.m. 651, approve request for solicitation of funds requested by Alpha Epsilon Pi. Raise funds for the Heroes to Heroes Foundation in support of veterans. Dates Friday, Saturday, Sunday, September 2, 3, 4, 9, 10, 11, 16, 17, 18, 23, 24, 25, 30, 2016, and October 1, 2, 7, 8, 9, 2016. Hours 12 p.m., 5 p.m. Locations George Street, Commercial Avenue, George Street, Church Street, George Street, Livingston Avenue, Eastern Avenue, Hamilton Street, Stone Street, College Avenue, College Avenue, Hamilton Street, College Avenue, and Huntington Street, George Street, Hamilton Street, George Street, Huntington Street, Hamilton Street, and Lewis Street, and a Partridge and Pear Street. 652, approve amendment resolution R 051671, reason to pay additional legal fees in the amount of $6,700 to Arleo and Gunny LLC for representation of Mayor James Cahill in the matter of Stephen Middleton versus City of New Brunswick and Arthur Anderson versus City of New Brunswick on punitive damages claims from $7,500 to $14,200. 653, approve order of contract with Envirolutions LLC, first to deliver membrane modules for the potable water filtration system, specification number 53516W. not to exceed $412,735.50. 654, approve request for street closure, request by Tabernacle Baptist Church, location Tabernacle Way from George Street to Beale Street, for back-to-school religious events, Saturday, September 10, 2016, rain date, Saturday, September 17, 2016, time is 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., police extra duty. 655, authorized purchase by water utility under state contract A 83011/T-2007 from Hertrick Fleet Services Incorporated for 3 2017 Jeep Patriots, not to exceed $51,279. 656, approval of resolution R061618, reason to pay additional legal fees in the amount of $1,2240 for benefit development for Police Director Anthony Caputo in the matter of Arthur Anderson versus Anthony Caputo, from $15,665.50 to $16,889.50. 657, authorized purchase by water utility distribution and maintenance division under state contract A 88758/T-2101 from Chaz S. Winter Incorporated, doing business as Winter Ford, for 2 2017 Ford F-350 trucks, not to exceed $60,938. 658, authorized tax collector to transfer several tax and utility credits on several properties. 659, approved request for use of city property requested by Lighthouse Christian Fellowship, Alice Jennings, Archibald Park, Simplex Park, Quinton Avenue Park, Alice Favorite Park, Joyce Gilbert Park, Kossuth Park, Pittman Park, Feaster Park, and Monument Memorial Park for preaching and passing out literature, date Saturday, September 3, 10, 17, 24, 2016, October 1, 8, 15, 22, 29, 2016, November 5, 12, 19, 26, 2016, December 3, 10, 17, 24, and 31, 2016. Time is 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we have, thank you, we call the meeting.
We'll have a discussion item, Mr. Council President, on H1.
Oh, it's on the back there. Oh, okay, we also have the certification by the municipal clerk, the initiative petition to amend the RGO Title 8, Chapter 56, paid sick time, paid safe time leave. Thank you. I didn't see that on the back there. Is that important? Is that important? Okay, we'll have the clerk please call the roll.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Escobar.
Here.
Council Vice President Fleming is absent. Councilmember Garlotti.
Present.
Council President Egan.
Here. Please be advised that the notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act have been complied with and satisfied, and that the annual notice, which gave sufficient notice of the time and place and conduct of all public meetings of the Municipal Council of the City of New Brunswick, has been filed with the City Clerk, has been placed on an appropriate bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall in New Brunswick, New Jersey, and has been transmitted to the official newspaper of the City of New Brunswick, namely the Home News Tribune. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, we'll have a moment of silence for our men and women serving in our armed forces, and a silence for all our men and women in the armed forces who have lost their lives serving in the armed forces. Thank you. We have minutes from June 1st, 2016. Can I get a motion on the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Egan.
Yes. We have ordinances on second reading. 601, ordinance to amend and supplement the revised general ordinance of the City of New Brunswick, Title 5, Business Licenses and Regulations, Chapter 5.100, Tax Details. Would anybody from the public like to comment on this particular ordinance? Please step up to the microphone. Your name and address, please, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Charles Cradville, New Brunswick. I'm the editor of New Brunswick Today, community newspaper here, as you know. My first question is, what is the purpose of this ordinance? What is changing?
I could address that.
Yes, Mr. Shannon, please.
As you recall, several months ago, members of our taxi associations holding licensed taxi cabs in the city of New Brunswick appeared before the council looking for some relief from the economic pressure placed upon them by the Ubers and other taxi services that currently now exist. as a result of that particular presentation, I was instructed to sit down with them, speak to some of their concerns. We looked at the ordinance, we looked at some of their requests, and this particular ordinance amends those provisions of the taxi cab ordinance to incorporate a little more flexibility to their operations. Specifically, the insurance requirement is $50,000. It used to be $100,000. Our review of other towns, as well as major cities, actually have limits lower than $50,000. So that was the purpose of the change there. There was some language in the provision that talks about dress code that was a bit, in my own words, draconian, that we cleaned up a little bit. And then they had requested a waiting fee with respect to passengers who ask that in the middle of a particular trip that they be asked to stop at an ATM or pick up a quart of milk and they have to wait. And that's with the waiting fee, $1 for the first 5 minutes and then $2 for the second 5-minute period or any period thereof. Then there was a transportation fee. In other words, it's a moving fee. Sometimes people use a cab to move from house to house, and they load the cab up with all of their property, the trunk, the interior. Takes a lot of time, requires the cab to have waiting time to load and unload. That's the Section E, the $25. Lastly, the official authorized cars or vehicles under the ordinance were the first 5 on the list. We added the following 4, starting with the Nissan. Quite frankly, some of the models in the ordinance they don't even make anymore, so they were having a problem buying new cars and being able to get new vehicles on the road as a result of those constraints. So we added the Nissan, the Ford Transit, the Malibu, and the Camry. So that's pretty much the sum and substance of the ordinance.
Thank you. And more?
You're welcome. No, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
I wanted to ask, has the city's Citizen Taxi Service Council had any meetings this year? Has this been brought to that body, or is that still defunct, dysfunctional?
Well, when I met with individuals who were part of that meeting, I don't think it was a formal meeting because they actually came to my office and we spoke. And they spoke on behalf of that particular group. In fact, they're advised that it's on for second reading tonight. I know they were all happy with it. But that's the only input I can give you at this point.
Okay. Well, you know, as I'm sure Mr. Shammy knows, the council probably knows, the Citizens Taxi Service Council may be comprised mostly of the owners or proprietors of these cab companies. It was intended to be an avenue for citizens to voice concerns or, you know, work things out with the industry. And I'm just, you know, I'm glad to see you're working with the owners of the businesses, but I'm just concerned that maybe citizens didn't have any input in this. You know, private citizens who are going to be paying these new fees. You know, the waiting fee seems like it's somewhat reasonable, but you know, a $25 fee that just says transporting fee when a passenger's personal property occupies the trunk and interior of the taxi vehicle, that could be interpreted to charge, you know, somebody who's taking a $5 ride from the train station, but they have a big bag and they have to put it in the trunk. I mean, I know the intent is for people who are moving, you know, furniture and lots of stuff, but the way it's written, it means that somebody could be charged for, even if they have a wheelchair and their wheelchair has to be put in the
I
trunk.
don't think, you could interpret it however way you want it, Mr. Crabble, but I don't think it's interpreted like that. He said moving the whole interior of the car, the whole interior trunk, actually coming from a residence, knowing that he's moving to another residence. And the cab driver has to use a little discretion also, so.
And if we see problems with that, Mr. Egan, and abuse with that vision, we could revisit that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Can anybody tell me the last time the Citizens Taxi Service Council has had a meeting?
Would anybody know that answer?
Long time.
Long time? Excuse me?
Over a year, almost 2 years probably.
Right. So that's a dysfunctional council. That's a council that whatever it was intended to do, it's not happening. So my concern is for the private citizens who might be charged this $25 fee. And I understand the intent is not to do that, but that's what you're doing. The letter of the law says that a transporting fee shall apply, not may, but shall apply when a passenger's personal property occupies the trunk and interior of the taxi vehicle.
Yes.
So someone with a wheelchair that they need to put in the trunk
I think your interpretation is not the same as mine. I'll just say that, okay?
Right, but you're actually leaving it up to the cab driver to do the interpreting,
Well,
is what you're saying.
well,
So I'm saying you should have a more clear ordinance. Before you pass this, I would encourage you to strike this provision or table the ordinance and reconsider, because I don't believe private citizens have had any input in the creation of this ordinance, and just at first blush, that looks like a fee that is not in line with what the customers deserve.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on that particular ordinance? Seeing them?
Move the ordinance. Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Egan.
Yes. 602, amend the management salary ordinance 2015 to 2017. Would anybody from the public like to comment on this particular ordinance? Yes, sir.
Good evening once again, Charles Cradwell, New Brunswick today. I just want to understand, why is this ordinance being passed now? It's my understanding that it's in order to bring the salary ranges in line with the raises that folks already got on July 1st, is that correct?
No, I don't think that's it. From my memory, I think there was a problem with the economic development range or code, and that we're switching, I don't know if it was written or it's a different code. It's going from a 95 to a 97 or 93 to a 95. Mr. Lockland, am I close to it?
Yes, you are close, but we ran an internal report to test our management employees against the ordinance, and we found that 7 people were outside of the range, 2 people were under the range, and we resolved that by increasing their salaries to what was appropriate. We found 5 people who had salaries that had grown outside of the range.
Are we getting the money back from them?
No.
I'm
Well,
just kidding.
let me. I shouldn't answer. You're the one who's going to answer that question. We thought that the Director of Economic Development was, his position was at a range that was inappropriately low when you compare to other department heads. We felt the same way for the title of confidential secretary, and we felt the same way for the title of water treatment plant superintendent. In addition to that, there are 2 people who, therefore, after that action, still remained out of range. That would have been me, and that would have been Director Rawls, and we are asking you to adjust the range so that we are in agreement with the ordinance.
Okay.
These are salaries that I believe the mayor endorses. He is the one who ultimately sets the salaries for his management staff, and regrettably the ordinance did not keep pace with some of the employees, and I'm trying to correct that situation.
And approximately how long has these, I guess, 5 individuals been being paid more than the ordinances allow?
I can't answer for all 5. I can answer for me. I was out of range last year as well. I was once a dual title holder, which allowed, if you look at the ordinance, it allows me to earn in excess of the maximum for the range. When I no longer became a dual title holder, which would have been late 2014, maybe 2015, I was therefore out of range.
So for one of the employees, it was 2 years, year and a half.
For me, yes, that's correct.
Is it?
I think Robert Rawls just came out of range slightly this year, I think $490 or something like that, so I don't think Robert had.
When you say out of range, you mean he was paid too high or?
Yes,
too
too
low?
high.
Okay. Right.
In excess of the range.
Right.
So the salaries keep going up, and I guess, how often does the city check to make sure that the salaries are within the ranges allowed in the ordinances? Is this the first time that such an audit has ever been done?
It's not an audit, but it is a test, an internal test, and it's usually done by the finance office in conjunction with me. I would say we do it every year. I don't know how my situation was missed last year personally, but I'm embarrassed to say that, but we test the salaries on a regular basis, at least once a year.
Thank you.
Right.
Yes, Mr.
We also vote on ordinances that do percentage raises for different people throughout the city.
You vote on ordinances for police and fire that are tied to their union contracts. You do the same for the MEA.
So every time that we do that, we should take a look at the ranges, basically, to make sure. At least for those.
No, I think that's our job to, to check administratively whether people are paid in accordance with the contract, of which there are 5 union contracts. And then on the management side, you set the range, the minimum and maximum for a given title, and it's my office's responsibility to make sure that people are within the range.
So,
Anything else?
yeah, is there an estimate of how much the city has paid above what the ordinances allow for these 5 individuals?
Well, as I said, for Robert is $492. For me, it is $6,400. For Glenn Patterson, it was $6,600. For the water treatment plant superintendent, it was $1,300. And for the confidential secretary, it was $2,200.
Okay. And so, can you tell me what the water treatment plant superintendent's salary is now?
$99,318.
99,318. And does that still reflect the $10,000 punishment, the $10,000 demotion that the water treatment plant superintendent received?
It's not the same person.
It is the same. It's Lex Wallace, and that deduction in salary was never restored, if that's the question.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm just a little concerned about, obviously I don't think promises should be broken to people who have been promised that, but the ordinances that you pass are your promises to the people about how you're going to spend the money. And this is, over almost $15,000 that has been illegally paid to these 5 employees. I understand people make mistakes, but I really think the council ought to examine how these mistakes happen and outline a plan for how it's going to be prevented from happening before you pass an ordinance to say it's okay. Also, this ordinance doesn't make it clear about your question you might have asked in jest, but are they going to be asked to give the money back? This ordinance is being passed today and won't take effect until, I guess, 20 days after final adoption, which would be the mayor signing it. So, are you going to ask the folks who've been paid, paid above what was legally allowed, to refund the city?
No.
No. And why isn't that enumerated anywhere in the ordinance? Why doesn't the ordinance say then that there were mistakes made and the city is going to, make this retroactive to cover the employees for whom the mistakes affected.
I believe the ordinance speaks for itself. We're changing the ranges.
Right, but it's silent on the question I'm asking of what's going to happen about the money that was illegally paid to these employees.
Illegally?
In violation of the city's ordinances, the laws of the city of New Brunswick have set the salaries and the ranges, and $15,000 has been paid outside the ordinances, illegally, outside of the law. So if you want to make it right, you've got to mention that in here. You've got to enshrine it that what you're going to do about this. You can't just be silent on it. And I think it's actually not great that I had to ask about this to figure this out. I don't know why the city's not being more upfront about this.
I don't know how much more upfront you want them to be. You got up and asked the questions. The gentleman gave you the most honest answer possible. No one's trying to hide anything. He admits they didn't do the proper audit. They should have checked the salary ranges. They were paid outside the range. It happens quite often in government. People are always trying to, believe it or not, it happens all the time in government. When people, they don't know what to do. They want to give somebody a raise, and they either gotta take it outside the range, or they got to adopt a new range. So I think Mr. Lockwood was very forthcoming, and I don't think he's trying to hide anything. I think you asked the questions, and he gave the answers.
So as the council president, were you aware that there had been $15,000 paid to 5 employees
I never had
outside the
I knew
ranges?
there was a thing about the ranges, but I was not aware of all the amounts at this time.
Well, it's a good thing I asked the questions then, and I appreciate the answers, but I think the ordinance needs to be clear about what's going to happen to rectify the mistakes. Don't you agree? Could you ask your attorney if that is a provision that would make sense in this ordinance to clarify what's going to happen about this $15,000?
The ordinance will correct the ranges upon its adoption, assuming it gets adopted, signed by the mayor. What Mr. Cradaville's talking about is the retroactive forgiveness of the small numbers that have been paid to these people. That's done administratively. The ordinance doesn't need to say that it applied retroactively. It applies prospectively going forward, but that's an administrative function, in my opinion, that the administration would handle internally. So I don't think it's a legal...
So Mr. Cradaville, our attorney is advising us that the ordinance is just taking the ranges back, putting the ranges. It has nothing to do with anything else. That is something that would be administratively done by the mayor, who appoints his management team.
Sure. Well, I respect that opinion. I respectfully disagree. I think that taking the position that the city can just administratively disobey the law or do whatever it wants is not the position the city should be taking. You should be rectifying your mistakes and putting it in black and white in the ordinance. It's not something that can just be done by administrators. The laws that this council passed were violated, and it has to be made right. I think it should be made right in the ordinance. That's my opinion, respectfully. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to speak on this particular ordinance? Seeing none?
Move the ordinance. Second.
Councilmember Anderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar,
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti,
Aye.
Council President Egan.
Yes. We have resolutions 637 to 659. Would anybody from the public like to comment on any of the resolutions this evening? Anybody from the public? Step right up.
Good evening once again. Charles Cradaville, New Brunswick Today. The 640, you're going to change the date of the council meeting. Can you just explain why the meeting's going to change and what time is it going to be at? We encourage you to make that a time.
The meeting is going to be the same time at 5:30, and as you know, I'm sure you're aware, due to the petition that our city clerk is going to certify in a little bit, we have to have the meeting 20 days from the time of the petition being filed. So that makes it the day before of our regular
Time of
council meeting.
certification.
Time of certification. So it has to be 20 days by law to have the meeting, to vote, to have the hearing on the second reading of the ordinance. So that's why we're changing the date to that Tuesday, sir. It'll be the same time, Tuesday, 5:30, day before. There'll be no meeting on Wednesday.
Okay, respectfully, why not? Why not, if you need a special meeting, have a special meeting, but why move the meeting instead of just adding another meeting? Is that too much to ask?
You can ask whatever you want, but we're having the whole meeting on Tuesday, the day before, not the meeting on Wednesday. Thank you.
Council only meets twice a month. I'd like to see it meet more frequently. The lawsuit here is 652. The mayor is using taxpayer money to fund his defense in this civil lawsuit. Can we just hear from the legal department what the status of the lawsuit is? Is it still in discovery? This is up to $14,000 now. Is that figure expected to continue to rise, or is this case close to conclusion?
Mr. Shannon.
First off, the mayor is legally entitled to have a defense as he is being provided with such on the punitive damage claims of this matter. Actually, there's two matters involved. And as far as the status, they're still in the discovery phase. I can't comment on when they'll be resolved, but my gut is it's going to take some time. And yes, the bill will go up, I would imagine, especially if there's a trial.
Certainly. And can you tell me, does the mayor get to choose whoever he wants to represent him, or is he bound by any type of restrictions as to who he can
The
choose?
mayor gets to choose his counsel.
He gets to select an attorney on the punitive damage counts, just like police officers do on their punitive damage counts, which you see on the agenda as well. Those are selected by the individual.
He doesn't have to select an attorney that gives a discounted rate?
But this is a discounted
Oh, it
rate.
is a discounted rate.
This gentleman charges, I believe, a lot more than $250 an hour.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. That answers my next question. The rate is $250 an hour for all the work?
Correct.
Okay. And can you tell me who the other defendants are? I imagine the police director, the city itself.
I don't remember off the top of my head, Mr. Crowder, I could try to get you that information tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to ask about the very next one, is the membrane modules for the water filtration system. I believe this is the same contractor the city's been using. Is this just a routine expense at this point, or is there any major upgrades or capital stuff?
Director.
Yes, please, council, yes, this is the contractor that we've been using, Evoqua, that was responsible for building the system, and it's just part of routine maintenance. It's time for the modules to be changed out.
Time for just one module or all of them? How many?
The module, one cell, one complete cell is going to be done. So there's 4 cells, we're changing out one.
One out of 4.
Yep.
Okay. And how are the membrane cells working these days?
How are the membrane cells working?
Actually, they're really working quite well. We just had one project done with relining of all 4 cells of relining that was going on. We just put a new set of modules in. We're doing the purchasing phase right now. We're probably going to do the installation of these in about a year.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. Anybody else on the resolutions this evening? Anybody on the resolutions? Seeing none.
Move the resolutions. Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Anderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Aye.
Council President Egan.
Yes. Now we have items discussed by council. We have a certification by municipal clerk, initiative petition to amend RDO, Title 8, Chapter 56, paid sick time, paid safe time leave. Mr. Shannon.
Yes, Mr. Council President, members of council, as the council has been advised by the clerk, the city clerk's office received what's called an initiative petition to amend the City of New Brunswick sick and safe time leave ordinance. which this council adopted back in December of 2015. An initiative petition is governed by very specific terms under specific state statute. Mr. Teresi has an obligation to review the petition, the signatures, the statement, and give this council a certification as to whether or not, in his opinion, it meets the legal criteria set forth in the statute, which is NJSA 40:69A-187. He's done that by way of certification, which he'll formally present to you this evening. Once that is done, that certification is tantamount to a first reading of this initiative petition. Once that occurs, as we mentioned earlier in response to a question, the council has 20 days to act on this particular ordinance by setting up second reading as they would with any other ordinance adopted or initiated by this council. That day falls on the 6th of September. So the certification being submitted, and if you want Mr. Teresi to read it formally, he can do so. There's, as with other first readings, there's no public hearing on first reading. So there's no requirement that you open it up to the public. There will be with respect to the ordinance on second reading, which will be the 6th of September at 5:30 p.m. At that time, the council votes the ordinance in, it becomes law. If they do not vote it in, there's a 10-day period after which Mr. Teresi will submit it to the county clerk to be placed on the ballot and be voted on by the residents of the city of New Brunswick.
Thank you. Let me just ask a question in my head. Is that meeting, is that after Labor Day or before Labor
That's
Day?
the day after Labor Day.
So are we on do we go to our 6:30 schedule?
That's the normal, normally that's the last meeting that's on the 5:30 schedule. The first meeting in September historically has always been a 5:30.
Okay, so we'll leave it at 5:30. Okay, so yeah, City Clerk, please, if you could, you want to certify the petition?
Sir,
Thank you, sir.
as a duly appointed city clerk of the city of New Brunswick, I am making this certification as required by NJSA 40:69A-187 in connection with the petition filed in my office on July 26, 2016, seeking adoption of a proposed initiative ordinance entitled Petition to Submit to the Voters of the City of New Brunswick to amend the revised general ordinance of the City of New Brunswick, Title 8, Chapter 56, providing for paid sick time and paid sick time leave, to expand the ordinance to provide coverage for employees currently restricted from coverage. I've completed my review of the petition filed and hereby find the petition is sufficient. Attached to the certification is a copy of the proposed ordinance. By way of this certification, the proposed initiative petition will be presented to the governing body of the City of New Brunswick on August 17, 2016, and shall be deemed to have had its first reading, and provisions shall be made for a public hearing as required in NJSA 40:69A-190. I am today certifying to each of the members of the Committee of Petitioners of this certification as recited above by regular and certified mail. That's it.
Thank you. So just so everybody understands, this is a first reading. There'll be no discussion on this particular ordinance this evening. The discussions will be on the 6th of September at 5:30 here in this council chamber. Could I get somebody to set that ordinance? Do we need to set that at a particular date, or are we fine?
No, it's by law, operation of law, as a result of the certification, it's already deemed to have been the first reading. So
Okay.
there's no motion
Thank you.
necessary, no second
Thank you very
necessary.
much. Okay, so that's been certified. We'll now move to the public portion of the meeting. If anybody'd like to address the council and for any particular matter, you have 5 minutes to come and address the council. Please state your name and address. Come on up to the microphone. Anybody like to address the council? See? Is there anybody else?
Good evening. Craig Garcia from New Jersey, Working with Families. I just wanted to say a few comments on the petition that was submitted to the council today. The proposed ordinance does a couple of steps to help recover some of the paid sick days that were not included in the original ordinance, including granting part-time workers who work under 20 hours, the right to earn paid sick days, and per diem nurses and workers who work for businesses with less than 4 employees. In doing so, this will follow 11 other municipalities across the state which have also enacted earned sick days laws and guaranteed it to all private sector workers. So I think this is an important first step to hopefully guaranteeing paid sick days for all workers across the state. I also understand there was some concern about how this would impact temp workers. The ordinance as proposed does nothing to exclude any workers that had the benefit under the original ordinance. And what I have here is some copies of a memo on that issue and a signed letter from a bunch of community organizations in support of the ordinance. I'll hand it in though, just in case you need some extra copies.
What's that?
I'll hand it in case you need some extra copies.
Okay. Sure, give it to the clerk. Thank you.
I also wanted to make myself available to answer any questions that the council might have about the proposed ordinance.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? I'm sorry. Hold on, Mr. Anderson.
How many municipalities,
11 total. We're the 11.
Yeah.
how many are in New Jersey?
So those are all 11 in New Jersey, and they're all.
No, he wants to know how many municipalities are in New Jersey. I think there's 562.
Oh, yeah, and so.
66.
No, 563, I think at this point.
560 plus.
Okay.
So, and just to further answer that, Newark, Jersey City, Patterson, Passaic, Irvington, East Orange, Bloomfield, Plainfield, Trenton, Montclair are all some of the cities that have passed it. So quite sizable cities. Right.
Thank you, Mr. Garcia. Anybody else like to address the council this evening? Step right up to the microphone. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Russell Weiss-Irwin. I live in Princeton, New Jersey, and I also was here to talk about the Earned Sick Days ordinance. I work in New Brunswick, not currently, but I have in the past, and I may again, for Kaplan Test Prep, which is does test prep courses.
Right.
I just wanted to speak on the importance of having paid sick days. This is a thing that makes it makes a huge difference in people's lives. We don't have paid sick days in Princeton. We're still working on getting it there. But I think it's a crucial piece for people to be able to live well in a community. And so I just wanted to express support for the ordinance that you passed before and for expanding it in this way to cover more workers. So I think it's very important for workers in New Brunswick and everywhere else in the state.
Thank you, sir.
President.
Yes, Mr. Anderson.
Sir.
Hold on, sir.
I'm sorry.
You or anybody else that you know who have had to try to take some time for sick time, the company fires you on the spot? Or?
No, I haven't. I haven't been fired on the spot. I did take a sick day in January, working here in New Brunswick, and I wasn't fired, but I also wasn't paid for it. And it would have been better if I would have been paid for it.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address the council this evening? Please step up to the microphone. Anybody else? Step right up.
Good evening once again, Charles Gradeville, New Brunswick Today. I just want to ask about a few of these other dysfunctional boards. It's my understanding the Ethics Board does not have a full complement of members, and it also is not meeting at the times that, once again, not meeting at the times that it's advertised, and apparently is not planning to meet at all for the rest of the year. Does this concern the council? Are there any plans to have a full complement of members and get this dysfunctional board to stop being dysfunctional?
Mr. Shandy?
Well, I can tell you that I'm unaware of if there are any vacancies in the Ethics Board, but I do know that the Ethics Board, like many other boards that don't need to meet if there's no business before it, don't meet. And generally that's communicated through the clerk's office if there's a meeting that was already previously scheduled. You get a notice that says canceled this evening or whatever.
Thank you.
Okay, how about the Cable TV Advisory Committee? Can anybody tell me the last time they had a meeting?
Anybody know? Yes, Mr.
They,
Martinez.
they've got a full complement of members, but I don't know when they met last.
So, maybe not for years.
We'll get the information for you, Mr. Crowder, we'll have it.
Okay. The Citizens Taxi Council, we already touched on the Emergency Management Council. Have they had any meetings recently? When was the last time they met?
Is the fire director there? Director Walls, have you guys had meetings or scheduled any meetings? Emergency management?
We have had a couple, yes.
When was the last one?
So August, probably May.
May? Yeah.
I've also had a large, or a big section of that council went down to Texas A&M for some training, I believe in July.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Very interesting. How about the Construction Board of Appeals? Has that met at all recently?
That's another one of those boards, Mr. Egan, that only meets when it has matters before.
So, meets when it has matters before the board, and there has been no matters before that board.
Okay. Yet to see one ever. Before I get to my comments, I just have to ask about this petition. It's being certified. There's going to be a vote. Mr. Council President, do you intend to vote for this ordinance?
Do I intend to vote?
Yeah, you're gonna vote.
Intend to vote at all? Which one? I don't know what you mean.
The one that just got certified by initiative and referendum petition.
I'm going to wait to hear everybody's arguments to make a decision.
Okay.
So,
And if, regardless of your decision, or I guess if you vote no, it would go to the voters.
that's correct.
Will it go to the voters in time to be on the ballot this November?
Yes,
Yes, so the intent would be for it to be on the November general election.
that's correct.
Thank you. So I have to pick up where I left off at the last meeting. Credit where credit's due. It's a great thing that the police are sharing the crash reports for free with the public on the city website. But the police are sadly here not known for transparency, and that is something that makes me as a resident not proud. So I want to ask real quick: does the New Brunswick Police Department identify persons arrested for domestic violence offenses when that information is requested?
Captain Miller.
It's a case-by-case basis.
So it's a case-by-case basis whether you identify the perpetrators of domestic violence.
Identify.
As usual, Mr. Craddock likes to throw generalities out there and hold you specific to it. Every case is, the totality of circumstances is taken into consideration, victims, suspects, the ongoing investigation, and the information that needs to be confidential, and then that information is disseminated as needed.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll make my point as quickly as possible. I hope you'll give me enough time to do it. So on August 7th, in my neighborhood on Remsen Avenue, a man who is a mystery who he is, injured someone else with what's called an edged weapon. So somebody got injured, someone was arrested. Naturally, I inquired to get the information that's supposed to be given under the Open Public Records Act. The police refused to identify the perpetrator, and I don't understand how that is the right thing. I don't understand how you're going to put all these people's information out there if they get in a car crash. But an actual domestic violence perpetrator who might have slashed someone with an edged weapon is being protected, essentially, by the police. The police are not identifying the person. And I think the police should revisit this, because that is not who needs to be protected. The victims, yes, need to be protected. I understand if the victim's information, on a case-by-case basis is not going to be released. But the law does not provide for what the police are doing. It's very clear. If an arrest has been made, information as to the defendant's name, age, occupation, marital status, and similar background info is to be released within 24 hours of any request. There's no exception for defendants. You shouldn't be protecting the defendants. If someone, it's just how it works. The police, we don't have secret police. The police don't get to just arrest whoever they want and keep it a secret. and they certainly shouldn't be protecting domestic violence perpetrators. I think that the law is very clear that if you're an adult and you get arrested, it's a matter of public record. And what the police are doing is a disservice to victims and survivors of domestic violence because they are specifically protecting the perpetrators of those offenses. And I will point out that, in the past, they have named them, but it seems there's I don't know what changed. Perhaps it's that you have a new person in charge of interpreting the Oprah law who's not very good at it, Mr. Katniss. And, it's just not right the way you're interpreting this. You're really twisting the law and effectively protecting domestic violence perpetrators. That is wrong. And I know that I've marched against domestic violence with people on this council, with the police, and this is a serious problem. And well-intentioned as it may be, the way the police are handling these requests for information is actually doing bad. I also have to ask,
Captain Miller, and I don't know if I read correctly, I might be misunderstanding the law, but doesn't it say also that when there is an investigation ongoing, that you could withhold that information? So does this case is being adjudicated, it's being done, it's disposed of?
Mr. Credible is right, the law is very specific. Unfortunately, he only reads the part to you that fits him. He doesn't read the part that goes against him where it says information must be released in 24 hours or when reasonable. In the case he's citing, if I was to release the information of the perpetrator, it would obviously identify the victim because of the domestic relationship, and that's why it's being withheld, for the protection of the victim. Which I told Mr. Basil in the email or over the phone.
And the case has not been disposed of yet?
I don't know.
the law is very clear. It deals with ongoing investigations, and there's not an exception for what Captain Miller's interpreting would be an exception. I have to also ask about, on August 10th, is it true that Jamal Edwards led police on a high-speed chase in a stolen vehicle?
I don't know.
He said he had to look that information up.
I don't keep
He doesn't have it off the
everything.
top of his head.
Okay, as I've enumerated in an email to the council, I just want to put on the record that I requested the information that's supposed to be public under this law in regards to this case. Captain Miller's response failed to identify the complaining party or give a good reason why not. Failed to provide the text of the charges against Mr. Edwards. Failed to identify the investigating and arresting personnel. Failed to identify the length of the investigation, the circumstances surrounding bail, whether or not it's been posted yet, or the amount of the bail. Also omitted information on the circumstances surrounding this, which it says in the statute he has to provide information including, but not limited to, pursuit. So if there was a pursuit, it's public information. And it's also, for obvious reasons, supposed to be public information who investigates and arrests these crimes. The investigating and arresting personnel are supposed to be public. Can you please ask Captain Miller to explain why
Yes,
he's...
stop talking for a second.
Sure.
The investigating personnel is in the Brunswick Police Department. I don't have to specify which officer handled it. The New Brunswick Police Department handled it, investigated, and arrested it.
So as Captain Miller's contention, he does not have to identify the officers who do the arresting or the investigating.
Not in this case, because I have undercover officers, so I'm not going to identify.
I'll double check the law on that one. I just want to end by thanking Captain Miller for his answers and the council for allowing me the time. I think a very good suggestion to solve this problem would be the police department doing like they do with the crash reports, putting up some basic information on the internet about arrests, about crimes that they investigate. Rutgers Police does it. They update it almost every day with all the incidents, the case numbers, and the charges. And that makes it very easy for a person like me, a journalist who wants to find stories and you know, find the most serious crimes. Makes it easy. I shouldn't have to you know, play these games to get information out of the police department. The police department should be transparent. I think it's important to note that if there was a high-speed chase involving a stolen vehicle, we didn't find out about it from the police. The police didn't advertise it. They didn't do a NIXL alert. They didn't do a press release. And like I've pointed out, the number of press releases has dropped dramatically this year, ever since the police took away the public's right to listen to the police scanner. So the police owe us more transparency than what we're getting as a community. We deserve better. I'm speaking up not just as a journalist, but as a community member who wants to know what the police are doing. And I hope you agree with me, and I hope you push for more transparency from our police department. I hope Captain Miller does the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Crowder. Yes, anybody else like to address the council this evening? Anybody else?
Muy buenas tardes a todos. Mi nombre es Rafael y les agradezco a todos ustedes de antemano las atenciones que nos han dado a todos mis compañeros de nuestros grupos, sobre todo Proyecto Esperanza y Brunswick, que andamos buscando la manera de mejorías.
So my name is,
All right, go ahead.
good afternoon, my name is Rafael Sanchez. First of all, I thank you beforehand for the attention you've paid to the concerns we've brought as members of community groups, especially the Esperanza Project and New Labor and Uni Square.
El punto ahorita que nos enfocamos, dar las gracias por la ordenanza que nos hicieron sobre los días de enfermedad pagados para los trabajadores.
So the first thing, we'd like to again thank you for your support in passing the paid sick days ordinance for New Brunswick workers.
Aunque de antemano ustedes saben cómo quedó la ordenanza, me atrevo a hacer un pequeño recordatorio.
As you all know how the ordinance ended up, we just like to make a reminder, a request.
12 municipios de New Jersey ya han pasado ordenanzas para pago por ausencia laboral debido a enfermedad.
That 12 New Jersey municipalities have passed paid sick time laws.
Sin embargo, solo la ordenanza de New Brunswick excluía a los trabajadores principales el derecho a ganarse el pago por ausencia laboral por el caso de enfermedad. Solo la ordenanza de New Brunswick excluía a los trabajadores principales del derecho a ganarse el pago por ausencia laboral debido a enfermedad.
The New Brunswick ordinance excludes some workers from paid sick time.
Incluía a trabajadores que trabajaban menos de 20 horas.
Such as workers earning less than 20 hours.
Por las enfermeras trabajando por día y los empleados con pequeñas empresas con menos de 5 empleados.
And per diem nurses.
La ordenanza propuesta mantiene el derecho a ganar días de enfermedad ganados por todos aquellos que tienen derecho en virtud a la ordenanza original. La ordenanza propuesta mantiene el derecho a ganar días de enfermedad pagados por todos aquellos que tienen derecho en virtud a la ordenanza original.
Sorry. There's been some misinformation. If I can have a minute.
Yes.
Can you tell us what's
He was just talking about the way he's talking about our current ordinance. He said that it's excluding some workers and it doesn't include everybody. And then he says that something else that is excluding, which is not. That's why he stopped, because it's not reflects the ordinance that we have now.
Would anybody else like to speak while we're waiting to address the council that hasn't spoke?
Hi, I'll make this quick. My name is Christina Capella, and I used to live and work in New Brunswick. And I came in to support extended paid sick leave to cover everyone, including people who work under 20 hours a week and per diem workers.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Christian from Piscataway, and I would also like to support expanding this because all of us can benefit from having a healthy workforce, and the 20 hours or 24 hours isn't going to really cut it. Most people are sick for more than 1 day.
Good evening. My name is Joanna Hollis. I'm the rector of Christ Episcopal Church, just a couple blocks over that way. This is my first time addressing City Council, so I'm grateful for the opportunity to do so. So I came here as an advocate for the working poor of the city and someone who gets approached several times a week by people who come into my office asking for help with rent, help with large electric bills, and for food, and even for clothing. I also come here tonight as a working mother and as a spouse to a part-time food services worker. As a priest, I have the luxury of being able to manage my daily schedule, and I'm very aware that this is a privilege that most people do not get. Unfortunately, I don't get sick very often. However, when I do, I'm able to adjust my schedule so I can take care of myself. But this is not the case with my spouse. When she's sick, she has to take into consideration how many hours of pay she will lose if she calls in. And this means that sometimes she will go in, even if she's not feeling 100%, so that she doesn't lose the money that we as a family depend on. So I can only imagine our part-time food services workers in Brunswick, many who work are barely able to put food on their own tables, who have to choose. Either they go to work sick, possibly affecting or infecting their coworkers, not to mention the hundreds of others they or the food that they prepare come in contact with. Or, and they get their paycheck. Or they call in and risk not being able to feed their kids or pay their rent, sending them down the slippery slope of deeper poverty and debt. And so as a mother, I know exactly what I would choose, because when it comes down to it, my daughter will always win. And so you've already made the wise and right decision, I think, to have this conversation and to pass the paid sick and safe leave. And I've never heard of safe leave before. I think that's awesome. But I think that the amendments that we are asking you to consider simply includes a reasonable way for all workers to earn a reasonable amount of paid sick leave. And so we're asking you to be a voice of reason and justice in favor of supporting the well-being of all of our New Brunswick workers and the New Brunswick community at large. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Charles Bergman, New Brunswick resident, director of the Esperanza Neighborhood Project. If I could just make one point for the record in terms of the current paid sick time ordinance and the proposal. There's a point of misunderstanding or confusion, specifically around the coverage for workers employed through temporary staffing agencies. If you wouldn't mind, Council President, would you ask either Mr. Shammy or Glenn Patterson, in their understanding, does the ordinance as it stands cover some employees of staffing agencies who are transported to work sites outside of New Brunswick?
Yes, it does. I don't have to ask anybody.
Okay. So it is the belief of the groups that petitioned that it does not, is their interpretation that the language says it does not. And in effect, we don't disagree, from our local groups that work on ordinance, we don't disagree with their ends in wanting to expand coverage to traditional workers, but in effect, just for the record, the petition, the ordinance petition would take away the right that's been extended to some temporary agency workers outside of New Brunswick. It would effectively eliminate that degree of coverage. So I just wanted to make sure that's on the record, that this, that is the city's understanding that it does cover those temp agency workers outside of New Brunswick.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else like to address the council this evening? Anybody else like to address the council? Step up.
Hi there, my name is Adil Ahmed. I'm from North Brunswick. Spent a lot of time in New Brunswick as a consumer. I kind of just wanted to bring a little bit of a different perspective as a millennial entrepreneur. You know, a lot of us in our generation who are starting businesses are a lot more socially conscious. We want our businesses to be ethical. We want to do right by workers. We want to help the community. And I'm finding that, you know, our business is based out of Princeton in Philadelphia. But I have a couple friends who own restaurants right here in New Brunswick who went to Rutgers and are really, literally just launching their businesses. One of them being the really popular taqueria spot. Now, I'm not their lobbyist or anything, but I can tell you that we share generally communal social values. So I want the council to feel comfortable knowing that passing this ordinance actually sends a great message to Rutgers students who want to set up businesses here, where they went to school, want to give back, realizing that investing in a university town can actually be quite great if you do it the right way. And having a law like this allows them to do right by their workers, which is something that people like us generally want to do. And it's not something that we want people to, you know, it's not forcing us to do it. We want to do these things, and we want to be surrounded by business owners who share those values as well. So I just want you guys to know that when you pass this, I think it sends a great message to the state, to other millennial business owners who think this is the right thing to do. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to address the council this evening? Anybody else like to address the council? Seeing nobody else.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Councilmember Anderson.
Can I help you?
Hi, my name is Karen White. I am with the Union of Rutgers Administrators, AFT Local 1766.
You should know that the meeting is in the room, not out in the hallway, being a teacher.
I am sorry, but I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, we're letting you speak.
All right. I work at Rutgers University, and I wanted to bring up the report from Center for Women in Work that was done after Jersey City's law had been in effect for a year. They surveyed Jersey City residents and businesses, and for the most part, they found that there was no problem with the ordinance that Jersey City had passed. The only problem was that workers still weren't able to take the time. What they needed was the pay part of the time. It was an equity issue more than it was anything else. All workers needed to have the minimum number of paid sick days, and so they amended their ordinance in order to make sure all workers had paid sick days. And I'm asking you all to do the same with your ordinance so that all workers are treated equally.
And how do they do with temporary agencies in Jersey City? How do they address that problem? How does the ordinance address that problem in Jersey City?
So the ordinance covers all businesses that have employees in the city.
In the city.
Who are working in the city regardless of where the business is. Right.
Our ordinance that's in place right now covers people that work outside the city that get employed by the ordinance in the city. Our ordinance does a better job for people that work for temp agencies than the other ordinance.
If I understand your ordinance correctly, it says workers will accrue 1 hour for every 30 works actually in the city.
No, outside the city.
No, for example, the word actually is there.
Well, we can let you read the ordinance.
I don't have it.
You're a teacher, we'll let you read it for us.
She has.
May I step up to read the actual language in your ordinance?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Analia Mejia. I'm the director of New Jersey Working Families.
Yeah.
So the current ordinance, Section 3 of New Brunswick, current ordinance establishes the basic rights of workers to accrue paid sick times. The specific language reads, employees shall accrue a minimum of 1 hour of paid sick time for every 35 hours actually worked within the city of New Brunswick, subject to the limits set forth below in paragraphs 2 and 3. The current ordinance or law goes on to establish a cap of 40 paid sick days that full-time workers can accrue and a cap of 24 hours that part-time workers can accrue. So currently, under your ordinance, the current ordinance, workers employed less than 20 hours a week are ineligible to collect any paid sick time. And then workers who are able to work at least those 20 hours a week within the city are eligible to earn sick time. To answer your question about Jersey City, as well as the other ordinances, the way it's defined is that if you are a worker working within the city, you're able to earn those hours. So for example, temp workers are covered in the same exact way that they are covered in New Brunswick, in that if they're working in the city and they've met whatever threshold, they're able to earn the time. In fact, they're able to earn it at a faster clip than New Brunswick. That's what's in your language. We actually took it to court. We went to court in Trenton. We were one of the litigants joining the city of Trenton, making this argument and trying to define this very question. And this issue of what happens to temp workers is essentially the judge in that case was like, well, if it's work within the city, it's this question of if it's work within the city, work outside the city, you could define what is work. The municipality chose to define it as work within the city, and then that's what's covered. The difference in your language and your ordinance is that you actually specifically say actually worked in New Brunswick. The only difference here in what's being proposed in the ballot question is that instead of putting this limitation saying if you don't work up to 20 hours, you can't earn any time, that's taken away. You still have to accrue it. You don't get it for free, but you're no longer capping people who work less than 20 hours, which many temp workers actually do within the city of New Brunswick.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to address the council this evening?
Can I ask a question?
May I submit, did you actually get the memo we submitted to legal counsel? With all we specifically shared the language with,
Yeah.
Okay.
We received their memo as to their interpretation of our ordinance.
Well, it's actual language, I read.
I understand.
It's, okay, whatever.
I mean,
We don't want to get into this now, we're going to do it on the 6th,
But I don't want to get too much into it because this will be in September. But Mr. Patterson, very briefly, because I don't want to leave this meeting with a misunderstanding or confusion about our ordinance. Can you please reflect and talk a little bit about our ordinance, the summation of it? And kind of especially the points that it has been brought up about the 10 agencies and the workers.
Senator Councilman, the ordinance does cover temporary service workers who work outside of the city but are employed by a temporary agency that's in the city of New Brunswick. It says that in Section 3, that workers who are provided the transportation outside of the city by a firm that's here are covered.
Thank you.
But it again says,
Do you have any other questions?
That's it, I just wanted to make clear that before we leave that.
Would you like to talk again?
I would just like to ask a question to
Yes.
where, so then what is the interpretation of when your ordinance actually says shall accrue a minimum of 1 hour of paid sick time for every 35 hours, specifically saying actually worked within the city of New Brunswick? What does that mean, except hours worked actually within the city of New Brunswick?
Well, it's interesting that folks who want to follow a model ordinance, when we came up with a crafted ordinance for the needs of the city of New Brunswick, want to cookie cut into what our ordinance provides.
Yes.
But I spoke to Mr. Weissman earlier today, counsel for this organization, and I think he understood what I said, and I said exactly what Mr. Patterson said. We went to great lengths when we drafted this ordinance and this council adopted the ordinance to cover temporary workers who work for a temporary agency located in the city of New Brunswick, but work outside of the city of New Brunswick. The model ordinance doesn't even touch that. And that's all I'm going to say about the issue. Now, I'm not going to get into a debate with
Yes,
this
that'll-
young
the
woman
debate will
about,
come-
about our interpretation of the ordinance, which we drafted,
Right.
and their understanding of what it means.
Okay.
I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay, so we'll get more discussion on this on the 6th. Everybody has an opinion, but I am of the same belief that our ordinance covers people out that work for temp agencies that work outside the city that are providing transportation under Section 3, as Mr. Patterson spoke about. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
It's on the table.
I believe
It's on the table.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
Council President Fleming is absent.
Yes.
Councilmember Garlotti.
Yes.
And Council President Egan.
Yes.